Welcome back, folks. So I'm gonna do a couple new predictions. Welcome back to We the People Politics. I'm gonna get my video camera here soon. Of course, I've been talking about some surprising picks that I did last time, like in um, here. Let me zoom in for y'all so it'd be easy for y'all to see. There we go. Anyhow, let's do quick predictions. Look here. Let's start with the Northeast. I'll just go over everything that I saw last time, and I'm making a couple changes because I did a new couple poll combinations where, in different states, there's a lot more of a huge polling group, so it's an easier prediction to make, more accurate at least, what's most likely going to happen. As we look at Maine, um, Angus King and Era Bakery, Angus King, of course, going with the Democratic caucus. It's without a doubt that it's going to be safe blue. Going down to Vermont, New York, all these states. Now, New Jersey is an interesting one. Also, Bob Hugin's up in a couple polls actually. Recently, I did my some poll calculations, and Bob Mendes has a slight lead. I've actually changed this to leans Democrat. Reason is because, of course, I did a combined poll, and they polled about 10,000 people, which is pretty good polling. And it's going to be pretty accurate. So when I combined it all together, I looked at it. All right, who do people vote for? It's still in Bob Mendes' favor, but not by much. So I think it was about 3.5 points he's up. So it's going to be a close race there. Now going to Virginia, Tim Kaine. Even though it's going to be considered close, it's going to be a 5-point lead, most likely for Tim Kaine, anywhere between 5 to 10 points. You always have to put it safe because he's gonna win. There's no doubt about it. We just know the prediction in that. Pennsylvania, I'm changing. Looked at it. Pennsylvania already has a Republican senator already. So looking at it, I don't think Pennsylvania will go have two Republicans. I think it will be split down the middle. Lou Barletta, I mean, I don't think he's gonna be able to edge Bob Casey out. I think Bob Casey will eventually, when his next term, he could actually face someone very competitive. But I'm going to actually make this Pennsylvania. We're going to make it a likely instead of a leans. So anyhow, going down to Maryland is an interesting one. Tony Campbell and Ben Cardin. Ben Cardin's an older guy, older Democrat. His time's running up. Tony Campbell's a little bit of a younger guy, younger Republican. Maryland's been having a Republican trend. I think it will be close, but I think Maryland is still going to go for Ben Cardin, voting Democrat, and I think it will still be a likely. Let's go to Ohio now. Sherrod Brown and Jim Renazzi. So looking at the polls, it's going to be a close one. Ohio already has a Republican for senator, same thing. I think Sherrod Brown's going to edge this one out, but Ohio's getting a lot more Republican over the years, especially from the 2016 election. Anyhow, now we're going to be going down to Michigan. Debbie Stabenow, and this is actually the one I'm interested in the most. She's older. She's in her late 70s. Her time in politics is coming up. She's not very well liked. She has terrible approval ratings. I really just don't see how she could pull this thing out, even in a blue state like Michigan, even though it's got a Republican trend. John James is a Trump Republican. If he were to win, he'd be the first African American Republican senator in the state of Michigan, which would be an awesome accomplishment. And he's an Iraq veteran, very well known dude in the military community and in this new Republican Party. He's a very Trump type of candidate. Yeah, he's been actually holding pretty big rallies, and Trump will soon be campaigning in Michigan for him. Right now, as of it, the polls in Michigan are so terribly done. There's not a lot of them because most people think it's going to be, that Debbie's going to win. They already have a Republican senator. But right now, if John James is going to be the party nominee, which I'm almost certain he will be, I think that this could go lean Republican. Those are the changes I made. I did a poll, and most of the polls now that are coming out are getting ready for the general, and it has John James versus Debbie. A lot of people don't like her. Not a lot of people know who John James is, but the fact that when they were doing cell phone calls to see what people wanted to vote for and why, they wanted to vote for someone who's kind of like Trump, who has that the same policies as Trump. And John James, they told they told the people who were doing the polling, they said that he's kind of like a Trump in his policies and how he how he interacts with people. Very Trumpy, if that could be a word. So for right now, if John James is going to be the primary winner for the Republican primary, I think he will be able to pull this out. I would not be shocked if he does. Anyhow, most likely the Democrats will win, but I think that he could definitely pull this out. But if it's not him, if it's not John James, there's an establishment guy running against him, it will look like this. It would be likely compared to where it could be a battleground. And in fact, if John James wins, it will be like this. But for now, I'm putting it in the Democratic column because we don't know anything yet, and John James will still have a close race. And it will be interesting. But I'm gonna leave it Democratic right now until we start getting to the primary and then the debate soon. Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, and the Republicans don't have a party nominee. I forgot who it was. Talked about him in my last video. I'm actually going to not move this, excuse me. I'm not going to move this. I think this is how it's going to look like. Tammy Baldwin, approval rating's not too shabby in Wisconsin. They already have also a senator from Wisconsin that's a Republican. He's very popular and everyone should know him. So I think that I have to look into more of the party nominees, but for the Republican Party, but I think it's still going to be going the Democratic way. But if it were Republican, I would not be surprised, but I still think this is going to go to the Democrats. Minnesota, I'm changing. Amy, I think Amy's going to beat Jim Newberger, Senator Klobuchar. She's definitely going to beat Representative Newberger. No doubt about it. Originally the polls showed it really close, but now she has about an 8.5 point lead. So I'm changing that from a leans to a likely. Debates haven't, been set yet, so I just see it go Democratic. Now we're going to go to North Dakota, Kevin Cramer versus Heidi Heitkamp. I'm going to keep it right here. Polls have been the same. Kevin Cramer's up by 5% in the latest poll. Now we're going to go to Montana, John Tester and Matt Rosendale. The incumbent Senator Tester is not very popular in Montana right now. Montana is a very Trump state. I believe they voted for him, like almost in 70% of the state voted for Trump. So I think I'm still going to put it leans Montana because they already have another Republican senator anyhow. But I'm going to put it leans for now. I'm going to keep it there. Most likely, this will definitely be a likely Republican here in the next couple of weeks, without a doubt about it. Let's keep going out west. We're going to go to Washington. Susan Hutchison, she's a former journalist, and Marie Cantwell. Senator Cantwell is really known well, and Susan Hutchison, she's not, well known in Washington. So at the end of the day, polls, point to a Democratic wave in Washington, definitely. So I'm changing this. All the way to I'm changing this all the way to a safe Democrat. Washington recently has been having a Republican trend. Wasn't that far off from Trump getting into within striking distance versus Hillary. But at the end of the day, Washington's still a blue state, and there's nothing you can do about that one. It's going to go for Senator Cantwell. Anyhow, let's go down to the other states. Utah, I'm keeping it at a safe red for now, even though there are a couple independents and a guy who's running under a new party called the Mormon Party in Utah to challenge Senator Romney. I still think that Romney's going to win overwhelmingly, and it's going to definitely be a safe red. Nevada, new polls are up. Dean Heller is, it's been a close race. Looking at the polls, Jackie Rosen is up in almost every single one of them, even the polls I did, but she's up barely by 2.5%. So we're going to keep it right here at leans Democrat. I think the debates will really tell who's going to win this state, even though this state's really trending Democratic lately. Now let's go to California. Kevin De Leon is California State Senator versus the incumbent Dianne Feinstein. Kevin De Leon will eventually replace Dianne Feinstein. Um, but not this year. Dianne Feinstein's a really known Democrat, especially in California, and she's running against another Democrat. So it's going to go to her, of course. Same thing, Hawaii is going to be another Democrat will be running against Macy Hirano. Nothing changes in there. So now, I think we covered all those, all the western, northeastern, and midwestern states. Now let's go down to the south. We'll start with Texas here. Texas is going to definitely go for Ted Cruz without a doubt. I have it safe for Ted Cruz. A bunch of the polls you look at, they mostly poll registered Democrats. And the latest Quinnipiac poll in Texas Lyceum, which is notably in the state of Texas. I'm a Texan. Texas Lyceum is not somewhere where you get your news from unless you are a progressive Democrat without 100%. They even said that that Texas should be a battleground state in 2016. Well, it didn't work out like that because at the end of the day, there's a lot more conservatives than liberals in the state of Texas, just like Ted Cruz has said. Beto O'Rourke has no chance. Beto O'Rourke, if Ted Cruz, again, were to go shoot someone, Ted Cruz would still win in the middle. If you shot someone in the middle street, Ted Cruz still win. That's how conservative Texas is. Texas is not changing. A lot of people are like, "Whoa, Latinos are going to outgrow whites in like 2050." Well, in Texas, Latinos are actually very conservative. I believe it was like 45% of Latinos actually voted for Trump in 2016 election, compared to Californians, which over 89% of Californians voted for Hillary. It's different cultural. Yeah, Texas has a lot of Hispanics, but I consider them, they've become southernized, which means, living in the South, the culture is very, Christian oriented, Christian or Catholic, same thing. Bible Belt area, just the culture itself, they've adapted to, and the Hispanic culture itself surrounds itself over religion, and Texas Latinos are very conservative compared to other Latinos from like New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California, and Florida. Anyhow, so now let's go to Mississippi. I'm changing this one. Roger Wicker, last poll was actually up 20 points. There's just been some weird, wacky, quacky polls from Mississippi, but yeah, it's going to be safe red. And looking at the other seat, Mike Epsy versus Senator Heidi Smith, keeping it at a safe. Now let's go to interesting race in Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn versus Phil Bredesen. Recent polls actually has Blackburn up. I don't think Phil Bredesen will actually win this one, as again the Blue Dog Democrats, aka Southern Democrats, just no more. There's Republicans used to vote for Southern Democrats. They're not going to do it anymore. You'll have some to keep it within at least 5 points. I think Phil Bredesen still in striking distance, no doubt about it. Will be interesting what will happen in the debates, but at the end of the day, Marsha Blackburn should pull this thing out. I forgot about Indiana. We're going to go John Donnelly versus Mike Braun. Mike Braun, I think, is going to pull it out. And actually, I don't think it's going to be a leans right now. It's going to be a likely. Changing that, look at a lot of the polls. 6.5 points Mike Braun is up in. So I think he's perfectly fine. It's going to be likely. Let's go to West Virginia. Joe Manchin versus Patrick Morrisey. Joe Manchin lately, is actually new polls came out. Joe Manchin showing he's leading and is getting actually about 35% of the Republican votes. As again, he's one of those blue dog Southern Democrats. And actually, he's pulling weight in West Virginia. Shows him he's up in some of the in the polls, but you look at the polls holistically and combine them all together, it still shows Patrick Morrisey with literally about from all the polls, if you poll people and let's say they were to go vote, he would only be up by literally probably 170 votes, I think it was. Patrick Morrisey, it's gonna be a very close race. But right now, I'm going to keep it for Patrick Morrisey, but this could most likely change, depending on how the debates go. This is going to be a really fun one to watch, West Virginia. Now let's go to Florida. Florida, Rick Scott and Bill Nelson. Florida, you always have to keep lean because you never know what happens to Florida. Lean Republican here. Rick Scott's up about 5% in my latest polls, and combining them all together, he's up by 5%. But unlike Virginia, we don't know what could happen because Virginia's a very predictable state, where Florida is not a predictable state. Tim Kaine's going to win by about 5% to 10%. Rick Scott, I think, is going to win about 5% to 10%. But at the end of the day, why Virginia's a safe Democrat and Florida's a lean Republican, because the trending in Virginia has been Democratic. You got a lot of people from New York and this area been moving around to North Virginia, kind of ruining the state. Anyhow, not mine to talk about. But Florida, it's just you really never can predict Florida. So it's going to be lean Republican for now. But yeah, looking at all that, I think at the end of the day, you're still going to have a grand total of 56 senators in the Republican column and 44 for the Democrat. Republicans will retain the Senate. So yeah, I'm getting a new camera, getting a speaker to set up everything, but I just want to do a couple new videos because all this weird polls is just not right. I'm gonna do a presidential thing. We're gonna cover every single, person to run against Trump, here soon. But yeah, thanks for watching, y'all, and like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching We the People Politics. Peace out.